Perfect. I'm ready whenever you are.
Are we ready? 6? Okay. Welcome to Troy City Council Finance Meeting, August 1st, 2024, 6 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag, United States of America, to the republic, which is one nation under God.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Keel,
Present.
Councilmember Brasman,
Here.
Councilmember Spain McLaren,
Present.
Councilmember Vera,
Present.
Councilmember Soriento.
Here.
Councilmember Casey.
Here.
Council President Steele is absent, 6 are present.
At this time, if anybody wants to speak on something in the agenda, go free.
Greetings, everyone. Hello again. Stephen Maples, 92 Ida. There's several different things that I think could be said about the new legislation, but I think the one thing that I'm going to spend time on is the idea that it's possible for anyone in the anyone employed by the city could possibly serve on this board without being conflicted. There is verbiage in that particular provision saying that if someone is conflicted, then they should not be appointed. But I can't conceive of a possible situation where someone who works for the city would not be conflicted. So, and furthermore, neither do I just think it's a good idea. So I would encourage move to just strike that provision altogether. I think the city council shouldn't be serving on it. No one in the city should be serving on it because there's just an inherent conflict of interest. Either the person is low enough on the totem pole that there's a possibility of retaliation or strong arming and that kind of thing, or they're far enough up the totem pole that trying to understand the idea that they could possibly not be conflicted defies any kind of like reasonable test. So I would just make the argument that that particular provision is perhaps the most confounding one, and we should just strike that one out among other things. But I'll just leave it with that particular one in mind.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, we have 2 ordinances and a resolution on the agenda. Ordinances, ordinance 40, ordinance authorizing the sale of surplus real property acquired by an interim foreclosure of the premises at 74 New Turnpike Road. We have the developer here, and we want to a little concept of what he might be doing with the property. Step right up to that microphone. Great.
Okay.
Okay, great. We can see it. We'll turn it around afterwards. It's just, yeah. Okay, you can begin. Thank you.
South Gulfstream developers. Yeah, I just wanted to give the board an idea of what exactly I was going for. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Casal, could you just speak right into the microphone?
Yeah, just put it right up. Yeah, if you don't mind.
might
Thank
want
you.
to just-
We're getting a new
can
state.
you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
So I just wanted to give the board a brief description, kind of an idea of what exactly I was looking to do with the property. So my goal is to have about between 85, 95 cottage style. It's going to be a 55 plus development. The cottage style units are probably going to range into 500 to 800 square feet. So it's more or less going to be, it's like an apartment, but it's its own building. So it's not, so it's like a small, it's their tiny home. So the rentals, my goal here is I'm looking to develop a senior community where the seniors, not really seniors, 55 plus, aren't forced to move into like a multifamily building to downsize their house, not go into an apartment, get the amenities of an apartment. So I'm gonna own the entire thing. City's not taking over the road. I'll maintain all the grass, recreational areas, everything like that. So they're gonna get all the amenities of apartment style living, but get that feel of still having their own home. So my goal is to, like I said, I want the 55 plus community to be more comfortable, but still get that same HOA feel or apartment style feel. So I mean, I gave a brief description there. There's like a concept of a unit that I'll be going for. They're gonna be rentals, probably 12 to 1,800 a month. I haven't exactly figured that out. It's still in early design phases. That's really it. I mean,
Okay. Any questions?
Would you allow pets? I'm already considering it.
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, no, I'm not opposed to. I'm a dog person. I'm German Shepherd stuff. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely. Like I said, I want to give the 55 plus community an option where they don't have to. They can sell their house and not have to put all that money into either buying a new house or not have to live in an apartment, but still get all the pluses of having an apartment themselves.
You said they'd be rentals.
They're gonna be rentals, yes. Yeah, so as far as the roads, they're gonna be, I'm maintaining them, nothing's getting turned over to the city. So yeah, so it's,
Great. Anybody else?
I got a question,
Hmm.
Councilman Tom. In the future, I mean, we all don't live forever. Are they going to be segmented into individual lots, or is it just, it's got to be sold pretty much as a whole piece?
I believe it would have to get sold as its own piece.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the city's take on something like that would be. I mean, they're gonna be built as one big piece, so there'll probably be one master water meter going into the property. So if it was ever to get broken down, each meters would have to get added into everything. It's not gonna, I don't think it would be an easy flip to turn them into houses.
Okay.
Maybe, I guess they could get turned into a condo association, but
Right.
I have no interest in doing that. I'm building a townhouse community right now, and I got an HOA, and going through Attorney General approval is not easy. So,
I think it's a great idea. Good job.
thank you.
Councilman Casey.
Yep.
Do you have a property manager in the city of Troy? Are you going to be acquiring one?
I'll be managing the property myself.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Check it out. I looked at it before. Okay, ordinance 40 on the motion. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Question? Okay, ordinance 40, vote. Vote on ordinance 40. Aye. Brian Rusty.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Okay, ordinance 41, an ordinance adding chapter 72, planning board to the code of the city of Troy. A motion?
Should we
Motion.
discuss first?
Yeah.
Discussion?
No, you
No.
do a discuss, you motions.
Oh, sorry.
Motion.
Second?
I did motion.
Okay,
Oh, second.
discussion.
Councilmember Casey.
So, Person McLaren.
it's no secret that this was not something that I supported before. But now that we're here, I guess I would like to not necessarily propose amendments, but just mention a couple things that I'd like to see this be the best that it can be. And I would agree with Mr. Maples, who spoke about not having city employees or a county planning commissioner able to serve on the planning board. I'm sorry. I'm not sure, like it was brought up before, how there wouldn't be conflicts. And because the two alternate, actually, could I ask a question? About the alternates. The proposal is that the alternates would get half the salary of the 5 board members. But correct me if I'm wrong, would the alternates have to essentially do everything, do the same research, be present at all of the meetings and know the cases before the board just as well in case of needing to step in as a board person at a meeting?
As I understand it and sort of envision it, an alternate would only be for a particular matter when a board member had a conflict with the matter. So I do not believe that the alternates would attend every meeting or have to familiarize themselves with more than one application at a time. I don't envision a lot of conflicts.
So if there were city employees on the board and possibly a county planning commissioner on the board, you don't foresee that there would be several conflicts?
A city employee who was named to the board could have a conflict, and so could anyone else too. I mean, we've had
Sure.
conflicts with the planning board based on their prior employment and stuff like that. But I mean, in most cases, we wouldn't. I do not believe that the mayor would appoint a city employee who would have a conflict, who would envision having a regular conflict. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And what about just like in the case of an emergency? Would you be able to hold a meeting with 4 board members, or would you need to pull in an alternate?
So 3 on a 5-member board, 3 would be a quorum. You could hold a meeting with 3.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Chair.
Councilman Grove?
Yeah, I also have concerns about the alternates not being at every meeting. Is there a local planning board that this was modeled after, having alternates that wouldn't have the same level of knowledge on any proposal?
Not
Really,
a
they would, it seems like they would only sit on an individual application and not be available to sit in the case of an emergency or something like that.
That's correct. They're only available in case of a conflict of interest. So when there's a conflict of interest, I mean, presumably a board member would be good enough to, make the chair aware of that. The chair would designate one of the alternates to sit in for that application and to familiarize him or herself with that application.
Okay. So these alternate members serve as sort of on-call members.
Correct. They're not like in law, we frequently have extra jurors, alternate jurors. They sit through the entire case
Yeah.
in case someone gets excused or can't serve anymore. But that's not what was envisioned here.
Okay.
Chairman,
Councilman Keel?
do we have anything already set up in our ethics to address the issue of other employees in the city being on this board?
We do have an ethics committee that I know the administration is looking to make sure is operating, and if it's gone a little dormant, to get it resurrected. But we do have an ethics code, and we do have ethics rules that would advise anyone with respect to ethics.
Thank you.
Chapter 43 bars city employees from appearing before a board on a matter that they have a personal interest on. And forgive me, but I would have to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure it requires someone from ruling on a matter, or, you know, processing an application that they had an interest on.
Okay. Thank you.
And not just the planning board, any board.
Yeah,
Chair.
Councilman Vera.
Is this ordinance is being proposed in lieu of ordinance 39? So the questions that we had at the last meeting about ordinance 39, what was the final determination on that?
The motion failed.
Okay. I also see that section 7216 has been added. Can Corporation Council provide a little bit of guidance on? So this states that any applications currently under review by the Planning Commission would they begin review under the Planning Board from that same point? Does
Yes.
information have to be, you know, they're going to be brought up to speed in theory,
Correct.
some way?
Correct, because our planning staff is this. So our planning staff will bring the board up. It was our belief as Corporation Council that it wasn't necessary to have this in, but it was raised as an issue. So belt and suspenders, we added it to the chapter so that there's no question that everything that's currently pending would be picked up by the planning board as if it had been initiated there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's it. I just want to say that personally, I was glad to see that there's things on here that we heard in this room the last few weeks, and things that other council people up here have mentioned. I think it's great about the training requirements, the wordage in here for making for a smoother transition, and the alternates to keep things moving, because I know meetings, a lot of times people are busy and there's conflicts, so there's some things in here to keep all the projects moving forward. So looks like a good job is done and everybody listened. Thank you.
Chair, could I just ask one more question?
Councilman?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you clarify the difference in this ordinance as far as training as to what's already in place for training? I know 4 hours is already required of both zoning and planning.
So at the state level, there are requirements for planning boards and zoning boards. And it's the responsibility of the board members to make sure that they comply with those minimum requirements
Right.
on an ongoing basis. What we've done is we've codified it so there's no confusion. There seemed to be a lot of discussion about who was responsible for providing training, who was responsible for making sure the training was done. So what Rick did was lifted a lot of that language from the state and put it into our local law, again, for clarity.
Okay.
It was already in place at the state level. It didn't necessarily need to be in our local law. But again, to avoid any confusion, we've repeated it here so that everybody's up to speed.
Okay. So there's not any additional training being required of the new board members.
No, and in addition, we've also provided a resolution, I think it's on the agenda, which names a whole bunch of providers who can, where
Provide the
members
training.
can seek training.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Any ordinance, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
No.
6-0, and this moves on to,
I was a no.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Oh, okay. I'm a little hard of hearing. 4-2. That moves on to the regular meeting. Now we're going to resolutions. Resolution 124, resolution of the City of Troy City Council establishing training requirements for all members of the City Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals. Councilmember Casey at the request of administration. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion?
Chair.
Councilman Bera.
Is the city going to, I guess, I didn't see it in here. If I missed it, I apologize. Is the city going to cover the cost of training for members of the board?
That wasn't discussed, actually.
Okay.
It wasn't considered.
Are you? done? I
Councilmember
didn't want them.
McLaren.
I think most of it's free, but to the extent there are charges, members can apply for reimbursement.
Yeah, as I recall, having been on the planning commission for a little bit, occasionally there would be like a conference and the city would pick up the $50 tab or whatever it was to
Council Chair.
Council President McLaren, or Council President McLaren. Oh, yeah, you just got to promote. I'm sorry, I'm reading something.
So along the same lines, I know that when I was on ZBA, the planning commissioner would kind of send out, hey, you know, if you can go to this, let's get registered. City gets an early bird special, that kind of thing, so that it's coordinated. So everyone is aware of it, that we weren't kind of scrambling on our own to fulfill our 4 hours. Do we foresee that that will happen again for the new board members?
I can certainly suggest it to the planning commissioner, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Chair. Is it the city will reimburse for up to the 4 hours, or if they go above and beyond, city pick up the bill for anything past the 4 hours?
Right now, we're allowing people to carry over 2 hours to the next year. So I don't know. I assume so.
Thank you.
It probably depends on the fee.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
No.
5-1. And that's the end of our agenda this evening. Do we have a public forum?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody wish to speak on anything that's not on the agenda or not at this time? Just make sure you speak into the microphone. Thank you.
I want to hold it.
Well, it's getting a little.
Hi, my name is Mark Schaefer. I am a newly returned Troy resident. I lived in the District of Columbia for 30 years. I grew up in Brunswick. And I'm coming here today not for the most important issue. I will grant that this is not earth-shaking. This is not anything as fundamental as a lot of the issues you all have been dealing with. But one of the things that I have seen in my time having returned to Troy is what an amazing city it has become. I grew up in the 70s and 80s when we drove through Troy or past Troy on our way to Albany or Latham or other places, and to find my hometown a vibrant, exciting, diverse, and growing community has filled me with a tremendous sense of pride. And as I walk around my reclaimed home, I notice there is one thing missing. And the thing that's missing right there is the only time I've ever seen it in the wild, which is the flag of the city of Troy. And I had to find it online through a careful internet search. There's one picture of it online on the entire internet, as far as I can tell. And it is, with all due respect, not the most interesting flag that we might have as a city. And my thought was, having lived in Washington, D.C., where D.C. flag is an icon that is everywhere in town, the way that the Texas flag is in Texas or the Chicago flag is in Chicago, that this can serve as a really interesting and powerful community unifying icon. And so I had an idea that we could develop a new flag for the city of Troy that would be something that could serve not just as a symbol of our city, but also as something that could appear on people's t-shirts and in their businesses, and they could sort of riff on the design. So I brought some things to hand out, if that's okay. Can I, the idea is basically that there are principles as to how flags should be designed. They should be simple. They should be something a child could draw from memory. They should have a handful of basic colors, and they should have symbolism that speaks to the place they're seeking to represent. So the design that I came up with is this blue, this red field with a blue stripe and a gold tog. The symbols would represent a number of different things. So there's what designers call high propositional content value in this, in that the red would simultaneously be the same red that is on the current flag, which is the red of the United States flag. They're actually by law required to be the same shade red. So it's not only is it the red of the US flag, it is the red of the current flag, it is the red of the bricks that so many of our buildings downtown are built out of. And it is a color that Native communities use to identify themselves. And so it can also represent the Schaghticoke and Mohican Indians who used to call Troy home. The blue stripe in the middle symbolizes the Hudson River, which of course is the source of Troy's commercial strength. And today, the source of one of its greatest amenities, which is our riverfront, where our restaurants and clubs and other businesses are located. And then the gold tog obviously represents the industry, but also today the innovation that I see happening in our wonderful city. The blue and the gold being the colors of the state of New York as well, so there's that. And then having it span the blue stripe represents the way Troy has served as a center of commerce, connecting the west and east sides of the Hudson, New England, and the rest of the state. So I wanted to just share this idea with you. I don't know how to propose it for you all to take up action, but I will say that given the utter lack of visibility of our current flag, I could just start making these and selling them and no one would know the difference as to whether they were the official Troy flag. And I think that, you know, that there is a lot to be said having a simple symbol that is adaptable, that represents a city that's easy for people to rally around, and that can serve as the kind of community identifier that I think Troy really deserves. I want to say again how elated I am to see the city that Troy has become in the last several decades. And I think that the pride that I have seen in our city, with the Enjoy Troy stickers or all the things that Troy Cloth and Paper sells, and the kind of city pride and upstate pride and the centrality of the farmers market in the entire capital region, the way people flock from all around to that this is the kind of thing that is basically the branding the city that we could use to kind of keep that excitement and enthusiasm going. So that's my proposal. That's my public comment. You've got it all handed out to you, you know. So I don't know if I'm the weekly crackpot, but I am.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone. I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?